Testing, 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 testing. What's up, guys? So I have stumbled across yet again one of these videos. I'm gonna pause it right here. Another one of these videos. What are these videos? You can already kind of tell by the changing landscape and the pretty girl, but it's one of those videos where they pretty much tell you that they quit their job and now they travel the world and go to luxurious destination after luxurious destination and blah blah blah. And I want to share with you the truth about these videos, some of the undersides to what's really going on here. And they're basically telling you like you can live this life too, blah blah blah. And we're going to kind of uncover like, is it really as glamorous as it seems, and partially why they display it like they do, and just a little hint, there's some truth to this and you can, but there's also a whole business side to it. They're trying to sell you on this and market it well so that you spend money with them so that they can continue to live this life. So it's kind of like a mini pyramid scheme in a way. But again, I'm not gonna trash them completely, because there is some truth to this, and I do think it is inspiring in a way. But let me just roll the clip. This is yet another one of those videos where you have the beautiful girl with like very expensive bikini shots, and then they're in like the resort and so forth. And you see this on Instagram a lot, and now it's kind of transitioning over to YouTube. It's happening on Facebook, and I have a feeling that this will continue to happen for hundreds of years. But it's taken a new form. Rather than travel agencies doing it, it's people. And there's also a bit of truth to this. In the past, this was probably not accomplishable, but now thanks to the internet, there are certain like outsourced remote living type businesses, and there's nothing wrong with that. But I just want to give you a little bit of the truth about it, because it's not always as glamorous as it seems, nor can you really go to all these amazing destinations just off the bat. I mean, with hard work and effort and so forth, nothing's impossible. But let's just keep watching this video and just give you a little taste of like what type of stuff they tend to show in their videos. So again, a lot of pictures of this guy's girlfriend or whatever, and I've muted the audio, but it's the same basic idea. Like, you see a lot of videos like this. It usually starts with 24 hours ago I quit my job, or a year ago I quit my job, and now this has occurred. And then they just flash all these like incredible visually stunning images in front of you. Now I've said enough. I've showed you enough. Let me just get to the most important points. Let's just get to the truth. So first and foremost, most internet lifestyle entrepreneurs do not get to live a life like this, or those of which you see most of the time. Most of the time, they're just trying to string together money. And if they do make enough money, it's usually not to these like radically exotic, beautiful, aqua green destinations. Like, okay, let me pause it there. That's a little bit more. There's a certain shot they show that's like, this is more so like something you might be able to go to. And what I mean by this is they usually go to low quality, low cost of living destinations that are not exactly ideal, in the sense that the water is usually like gray or just kind of dirty. It's not aqua blue. The sky is not, aqua turquoise blue either. It's gray as well. And it's a beach. It's a beach, but there's like litter on the beach, and it's not horrible. You're still at a beach, and like, it's still kind of cool that you're traveling. But usually, like, you can kind of see this, but even this picture is kind of like displayed well. The wood, the people there, I mean, they're not making a lot of money, and it's not like Bora Bora or the Bahamas. It's usually like kind of crappy location, and Usually, like if you really get into this like lifestyle entrepreneur world, where you like outsource everything and you like work from the computer, you start seeing this. Like if you actually start looking into like any pictures these entrepreneurs actually show, it's kind of like this, and maybe even a bit worse. Now, is it horrible? Again, it's not horrible, but it's just a bit of the truth that no one really displays in their videos. Why? Because they want to market to you well. They want to make it seem like you're in like these tropical locations. And what usually happens is people who buy into this, they like buy into the process, and then they've committed, and then like they're hoping that once you've committed so far and you're like already traveling, you know, you kind of just have to like hype it up yourself, and then when you hype it up yourself to market it to other people so that you also, you know, get into the cycle of selling people on this. And we'll get into how they make money later, but basically when they hype it up, they start believing it themselves or convincing themselves that it's they're going to these incredible locations when they're not really all the time. And it's a bit of a mini pyramid scheme, so just watch out for that. And again, we'll get into the part where it's not as scammy as it seems. Like there is a possibility, like if your dream is to go do something or go somewhere, it is possible. Just be cautious of the get rich quick schemes, or like this is my life and you just need to take charge and quit your job and it will magically happen. No, it's not how it works. I'm going to keep playing this video, and we're just going to show you a bit more of this. You know, he's like, again, this is a more like, these are more like typical shots of where it is, and you can kind of just tell from how it looks where these places are. And I'm just going to tell you because I know ahead of time. It's usually the Philippines or Malaysia or somewhere around that area. Thailand is another big one. Why? Because there's beaches there, the cost of living is very low, and you can live like a king based off that. And it's it's like the number one place that these people go. And so the problem with that is, behind the camera, save for those like rare moments where they're going to these exotic resorts, most of the people who do this, most of the time, you know, they're oftentimes spent just like living in a place like this, where it's not exactly as exotic. You see these like rundown shacks, and they're lugging around all this like expensive video camera equipment and photography equipment to take these incredible shots, to market it to you, to continue to sell this like dream, this yacht dream to you. And so that's just, you know, something I really want to share with you, because most people don't really, you know, understand that. They're like, oh, it's, life is grand, this is how it, you know, I'm going to exotic beaches everywhere, this is how I live my life, I'm always on a jet plane, and I'm driving, you know, flying first class. So that begs the question, where does this money come from? Now, there's a number of different like types of businesses. Some of them are legitimate, some of them are legitimate but bordering on the line of like, they always constantly have to kind of feed the process along by, you know, selling you products or sponsoring posts or so forth. So let's talk about that latter one first. And this is what most travel bloggers, most travel YouTubers, travel hackers, etc., do. And that is, they make all these videos, put out all this content, and then they kind of work paycheck to paycheck, and they, you know, film all these tropical destinations. And, you know, they have like the expensive film equipment, which you usually don't notice because you're so focused on the destination that you don't realize, oh my goodness, this is like high quality equipment that they're using. Why are they doing this? How are they doing this? And honestly, oftentimes what's happening is they're making these videos so that people who find them on the internet get dazzled by these videos, and they get convinced to pay for a 1 week vacation on their 1 week off from their 9-to-5 job or whatever else to go to these destinations and they get a commission off of this because they have a deal with the travel company that they're working with. And sometimes they'll swap travel companies. Whoever will take them, whoever's willing to experiment on social media or internet advertising. And some of them, they'll jump from travel company to travel company because sometimes they don't deliver. They're not able to keep with that company because their videos or their content does not deliver enough leads or sales to warrant for that company to pay for them again. On the flip side, some more legitimate ones, or just influencers who are able to, they have like a consistent deal going with certain platforms. Like this is kind of just general internet stuff. Like businesses want to make money on the internet, so they're either paying influencers, they're paying for ads, whatever else, and it just comes in like more hidden forms now. And so I don't think this video has, like, you can't even tell, like usually they legally have to tell you that they sponsored like a video, but sometimes they don't, or sometimes they don't have a sponsor. They're just trying to build an audience first. Now, is this a horrible business model? Yes and no, because it is one of those things that it just you hit a limit at some point, because you can only have so many people in that field who are trying to sell the same thing to other people. Like, not everyone in the world can make money trying to sell to other people these vacations, because there's only so many people that can occupy this industry and so many people to sell it to. So it gets competitive. And then like the people who have the best videography, the best editing, the best drone shots, or who can just like do it the best, market it the best, those people tend to do it well. Now, other than that business model, there's a few others. There's only a couple others. Like some of them, they just actually have a semi-legitimate or legitimate product. And again, my advice to you is to just stick with the ethical and legitimate stuff. Like, if you want to do this, have an actually legitimate ethical product and so forth. Because like, you don't want to build your castle on a pillar of sand where you're scamming people, you end up in jail, and like your whole reputation is built on fraud and trickery, which once it gets exposed, like the whole thing falls apart. There are legitimate ways of doing it. Maybe that means making your own product. There are people who do this, whether it's Alexis Ren or the Bucket List family. Those are two big influencers who do this, and they did this by doing it legitimately. Alexis Ren, she's a supermodel. The Bucket List family, they built and sold a tech company to Snapchat for around $50 million, and then they just spent it traveling. So those are like legitimate ways of doing it. So again, it's not, I just think it's very interesting. As far as the whole lifestyle, again, it's up to you. Some of these people are very smart, and they save a lot of money. Like, it seems like they're spending a lot, but they literally they spend on what they value, but then they skimp and save on everything else, from their food to their expenses. They cut to the bone on everything. They don't spend on fast food when they can help it. They cook their own meals. They pay for cheaper hotels. They will hitchhike and so forth. And you don't see that in these videos. You see it usually behind the scenes, and they don't tell you this stuff. They'll sleep out in the open. They'll get a tent. And you're probably wondering, well, what about this footage from the resort? And usually that's that one night or 1 week where they secured a sponsorship from a travel company or hotel company that offered to let them stay for a day or a week at their resorts. And then they did all this footage. But then, like most of the other time, they're sometimes sleeping in the outdoors or at a cheap hostel. And so they skimp and save on what they want. And some of them are more financially responsible than others. This this video, it seems like, you know, they're in the middle. Like they're spending a little bit on excessive like clothing, like you see the like luxury bikinis and so forth, but at the same time, that's $100, $200. It's not like excessive where they're like spending on, you know, yachts or really expensive jewelry or like a new outfit every day, which some of them do, and that's scary because their personal finances are all out of whack and they're living paycheck to paycheck. And then once they get old or something happens and they can't secure a stable cash flow anymore, they're kind of screwed. But others, you know, they're bold to admit that they're very like you know, they're very lean with what they spend on. Like some of these travel hackers will not even spend on like the fancy clothes you'll see here. So that's pretty much it for this video. The point is, I'm not saying it's impossible to live this life. This guy with his girlfriend, it does seem like he's living his dream life somehow. But is that always the case? Is that actually what's going on? Is it possible? Yes, it is possible. But make sure you don't fall into the little suggestions that some of them will hint at on top of this. Whether it's, hey, you can do this by just like quitting your job and it's like get rich quick or get rich easy. That's not always the case. And I'm not saying this video or any others in particular are doing it that way. I'm just saying some videos out there, that's exactly what they do. So just be cautious, be aware of it, and you know, you can kind of start seeing it. Like you just ask yourself, why is the footage so good? And some of them, you know, they just have good footage because they like filming. But just be cautious because, you know, it's not always as incredible as it seems. Sometimes you look at this stuff on social media and you think they're living the dream life. But then when you look behind the scenes, that photo or that video took the entire day to film. The rest of the 90% of the day was spent lugging around equipment, you know, almost getting attacked or mugged in a grimy, dirty area, and then traveling and paying for storage and like, you know, sitting in a cramped airplane to get there. And so I still personally think the dream is possible. I think if you can make enough and if you can do it the right way, in an ethical, legitimate way, this life is possible. If you want to, you know, travel the world and do this stuff and go to these destinations and cut out the crap behind the scenes and you actually live a life like this without like hiding all the crappy parts and having your whole life being as incredible as you think it is or you want it to be, it is possible. But having said that, just remember that it's not easy and it's not something that will fulfill you or make you as happy as you think it will, because it gets old after a while. And there's a lot of science that kind of backs this up. If you look into any studies on happiness, there's this thing called the hedonic treadmill, and it basically shows you that you'll chase these things, but once you get them, you get used to them very quickly and you take them for granted and they don't make you any happier. And it's one of those things. You have to make sure you're doing it for the right reasons. So that's the truth. Thanks for watching. Subscribe.